So, shall I attempt an intro? Okay.
Please do.
I have to warn you, Nalle. The last time I did it, I completely bombed. So, just bear with me. So, welcome to another episode of the What Goes On podcast. And this week we are joined by the lovely Nalle Colt. Hello, Nalle. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And it's an absolute pleasure. I mean, most people know you from, I guess, from Vintage Trouble and all of that. One of the hardest working bands, possibly of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went on your Wikipedia page and apparently you were a skateboarding prodigy according to Wikipedia.
Yeah. A long time ago, and it's cool now. I'm teaching my stepdaughters to skate now, and I got the injuries to prove for it.
Nice.
Obviously, I'm a lot older now, and you think you can still do it, but in your mind, but your body says something different. But yes, I started skating professionally crazy early. Like I think I was 10 or 11 years old. Yes.
Oh no way.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So you're like sponsored and everything.
Yeah, but you guys got to realize there was, I'm a very old guy, so that's when skateboarding was literally just coming out. You know what I mean? Like, no one had seen, because I would do tours in the weekends. I was a kid, so I was going to school. So in the weekends, we would go to. I grew up in Sweden, so we would go to Denmark and all over Sweden, and we would do showcases, and it was set up like at a parking lot to a supermarket or something, and then you had a little half pipe and people never ever seen anything like it. So, I couldn't do any of these mad tricks that modern skateboarding, I exited that business for that, so.
Oh man!
So how did you get into skating in the first place, and how did you get to such a high level at such a young age? Was your dad like a skateboard teacher or something?
It was literally when the earliest plastic skateboards came out, and I remember my brother got one, and soon as he had picked one up from the store, I wouldn't stop crying until I got one too, and I was just a little smoother than him, I guess, and we just picked up on it so quick. It was something I was in that perfect age where I just became one with the skateboard. I slept on it. I was always on it, and you figured out things on your own. This is way before there was any internet. You could watch YouTube videos and stuff. So you just bought magazines and trying to watch pictures and see what people did, and that's how it started.
And did you have a skate park near you, or any ramps, people that you knew with ramps or anything like that, or was it all just kind of flatland type tricks?
Yeah, in the beginning, and then we started building our own, like a quarter pipe or something like that. You could just kind of do little tricks on, and then you start going crazy and going into construction companies in the middle of the night and borrowing some wood, and making full-blown half pipes, So we got amazingly good at construction, For being kids, we were building huge half pipes. And later on in life, I ended up starting like professional indoor skate parks before I moved to the States. So I did have.
Oh, okay.
There's much.
That's really interesting.
But I don't know if you guys, listeners, want to listen to all of that. But
no, it's all good. So on the music front, when did that sort of enter your life?
It was, I think, around 13, 14. I got kind of injured skating pretty bad, to the point where my knee was just trashed. I had to do a lot of surgery on it and stuff. And I always you know, there was my brother. I started playing in rock and roll bands, and there was something about that energy. It was just, I really wanted to be part of music, you know, and finally ended up trading some skateboards for a wanky guitar. And it was some crazy, the action was probably this high, impossible to tune, but it was electric guitar, you know, so it was something about that sound and everything in, you know, I always was attracted to electric guitar, you know. It was everything about plugging in and you could, you know, create feedback, you know. It was amazing to me. I loved it. I still do.
And music is kind of, I don't know whether it was at the point when you were in the skate scene, but music was a big part of that as well, wasn't it? So I guess that was always kind of, you were aware of it and aware of the sounds and aware of the emotions that it kind of caused in you.
Yeah, totally. It was, I mean, when we skated, it was Ramones and Sham 69 and you know, it was Sex Pistols, of course. And yeah, I mean, it was everything. And the odd part, I actually remember, because for some reason I've been talking about it a lot about skateboarding lately. The weird thing is when I was doing shows, I never used rock. I always liked to skate to like, you know, like 70s disco music. I don't know.
Works, man.
I think there was a Gloria Gaynor song that I always loved skating in a half pipe to, because there was something about the tempo and it was just perfect for. So here I was like fucking disco knowledge. But I don't know, it just worked. I just remember that. So maybe that's why I'm in a rhythm and blues band now, kind of leaning towards that kind of music anyway.
Yeah, man. So when did you first start playing kind of live and stuff? I mean, how old were you then?
I started actually right away before I could even play a proper chord, because our apartment where we grew up was facing my middle school.
Right.
And we were on the 6th floor, and I would tell everybody on the lunch break, I'm going to do a show. And I already then, actually at 13 or 14, I managed to, if I plugged into multiple amps, I could create all these super cool feedback sounds. I had some tiny little PV amp and then some weird amps called the Mac 45. And I kind of plugged them in together and I put them all on my balcony, and I had that guitar and I just made like crazy noise, and it was my first show.
No, I
and
bet
it went off really well, man. Like, cool. That was like possibly even before knowing anything. I was like, I gotta do shows, man.
And what was the response from the audience?
It was pretty good, you know. They were cheering me on. I'm sure they, you know, it was pretty terrible, but the response was good, you know. And I immediately wanted to start a band, and I had a friend in high school. Right when I got in high school, I met a drummer guy, and his parents had an office, so at nights we could set up there, and he played drums and I just played guitar. And we made tapes on cassette tapes and gave out at school. It was very cool.
It just strikes me now that there's an element of performance then running through the skateboarding and through the guitar side of things. Do you think that was something, is there a commonality there? Like, do you like to be doing stuff in front of people? Because I'm completely the opposite. I've played gigs and stuff, but when I used to ride BMX, I wanted to be hidden away from anyone. I didn't want anyone to see me doing anything. Whereas you were yeah, I didn't like people seeing me bleed.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you asked that, because in a way, I'm even today, I'm getting shit nervous for every show we're doing with the band. I'm so stressed out before the shows, and my God, when we do TV and stuff, it's like you can't even talk to me before the show, because I'm like in such a weird mode. Like, so no, I mean, yeah. It's true. I always wanted to show if I could do something, and it was fun to perform. And I always, both with skateboarding and with music, I love the performance part of it. You know, obviously skateboarding, that's everything. You know, like it's a way of life, and the same with rock music. I think, you know, there was always something when you were a little kid watching bands and watching Hendrix or the Beatles, and like it was just like, holy fuck, you know, I want to be part of that, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I do, but I still get super stressed out about it, to the point where I'm, you know, have been trying to research ways to figure out how to stay a little calmer about it, you know.
Yeah.
And is there a point in a gig where you just like that goes away? Does it take a whole song to get through that, or presumably you don't feel that all the way through the gig?
Well, it all depends, you know. I usually goes away right away as soon as you start playing, especially with our band. It's such a, if you ever got to see one of our live shows, it was kind of a whirlwind. It just starts and then it just never stops, you know. So with that, it kind of goes away right away. When you're doing live TV and stuff, it's a little kind of constantly. And like I said, to this day, trying to work on find a way to relax from it, because, you know, you're playing and then it might have gone away from you and you start feeling really good, and then you do something really stupid. Yeah. And then it gets into your mind again, like, and you know, this constant of trying to get out of it. And yeah, I mean, it's always going to be a work in progress for me, I think. You know,
yeah.
But
I find the worst for me is like when I was doing like sort of cover gigs, and we'd have kind of the same set, like night off, well, you know, gig after gig, and you get to the point where you're kind of halfway through the first set, and you're kind of you're on autopilot, so you're not really sort of conscious about what you're doing, and you could be going through like your tax return or whatever in your head, and then all of a sudden you're kind of like back in the room, and it's like, where the hell am I? And,
that's what's called phoning it in.
I did that a lot.
Yeah, if you're doing that, you're need to rethink your, you know, I mean, with music, and that's why I love our band Vintage Trouble, because I think it almost forces you to be in it. You know, I don't think I ever, of all the shows, we've done a lot of shows, and I don't think I ever felt like I was thinking about other stuff, you know.
Yeah. So I guess I've been lucky enough to see
that moment. I wish there could be kind of one of those you could actually show how your brain function when it's happening, because it's so like, and you know, you coordinate with everything, and obviously you also try to interact with the audience and all that. So it's a lot happening at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to see you guys quite a few times, and I mean, every time, I mean, the energy that is, I mean, you're also so interactive between each other, and it's kind of, you know, it's an amazing thing to see, and I mean, it's like the whole audience and you kind of sort of become one almost in a strange way. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I can see how that would keep you on your toes.
Yeah, no, but you know, again though, I wander between, because I think probably privately, to answer your original question, I'm kind of a hermit, you know. I'm not really that much of a showman when I'm, you know, going to family dinners. I'm definitely not the entertainer at the dining table or anything like that, you know. But there's something addictive about performance, I think, maybe. Once you kind of get into it, and I'm sure, you know, everything comes into it, and it's even what we feeling with social media and all of this, it's kind of feeding into that part of our lives, you know. There's something about showing people something good, or trying to get an emotion out of people. I mean, I'm sure it's all connected in some weird way.
Yeah.
So going back to that office that your friend's dad allowed you to use, what was going on in there of an evening?
Well, I guess we were almost like an early White Stripes, I guess, you know. We were like the drummer and just drums and guitar. And I mean, I loved him. His name is Johannes. I don't know if he's still around. I haven't seen him since I was a little kid, but he was a great, you know, drummer, just mad drumming. And I didn't really know anything about guitar. Like as far as music, I could barely get my way around. I just loved the sound of it. You know, I was just addicted to, and then trying to learn any little thing. I couldn't wait till the next day we could go and try it out, you know, and it just became a mad obsession with guitar. So I think skateboarding faded really fast because it's just, I couldn't stop thinking about guitars. I just sat in school and just when that bell rang, I just ran home, you know, I couldn't wait to just be in my room with my guitar. So. And
that was like beginning of high school. So you were like 13, 14-ish?
Yeah. And then, you know, start feeling that it was time for bands and jumping all that. And a lot of it because of my big brother. He's 4 years older than me. So, you know, I was usually hanging with his friends anyway. And there was a lot of music. They all wanted to be part of music. You know, there was kind of a music explosion in Scandinavia or people want to start bands and doing all that stuff, you know.
So did you do any gigs with Johannes as the two-piece?
Yeah, we did. Oh my God, it was so, you know, one of those school meetings, I guess, and with parents.
Or like an assembly.
Yeah. And I had said, you know, they were asking if any of the kids wanted to do any entertainment. And of course I was like, yeah. But we didn't have any songs, you know, like it was just noise. Oh my God, they shut us down so fast, but it was amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. We set it up and I had both my amps up there and we were so excited and it was just madness. But I loved seeing those parents' faces when it was great. So that was the first real show. So we did it with the one and only, I should say.
Solo
performance. One and only.
Yeah.
That's a shame that there was only one gig. Or was it? Yeah, so you didn't play another gig with him? That was the only one.
No, I think you know, I'm trying to remember if we did anything. We ended up doing a lot of cassette tapes. So maybe there is a cassette tape of us jamming together. We kind of became obsessed with recording just stuff on tape, you know, and give it out to friends. And so maybe there's something around. But no, then I think he kind of dropped out of drumming a little bit. And I try to just find anyone who wanted to play a lot, you know. So it was my beginning of starting hundreds of bands, you know.
Right. So what was the journey from that point to then moving to America? I mean, because you mentioned earlier that you kind of had your own, you did some skate parky stuff. Was that?
I became pretty good at guitar, and you know, we start working with a lot of bands, and we start playing out a lot, mostly cover bands, and you know, weird Swedish pop bands. And you know, I mean, you know, you got to understand at the time the music we got exposed to are very limited, you know, like in the early on before you could really dive. It's not like now where you can just find anything anywhere on the internet, you know. But I started playing a lot, and suddenly I started playing with really good guys and realized that I didn't know anything, you know. Like, I mean, I knew basic chords and I had pretty good ears. I could kind of figure things out, but I started the better and better bands I started playing with, I realized like, I don't know anything what's going on. Like, what are they talking about? Like all music, harmony, and like I started really feeling really shitty about it. I was like, I want to be part of the music scene and what's going on. I love guitars, but I need to properly learn what this is about, you know?
Yeah.
I felt like I was so eager to get on and play live and do this that I kind of forgot how to really know how to do it. You know? So at the time, there was some Musicians Institute, which still exists here in Hollywood, California. Yeah. You know, there was a friend of mine in Malmö, Sweden, who just got back from it. And I went and had dinner with him, and he told me about it. And I was like, I became obsessed. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I applied you had to apply online, not online, by mail, you know, and then everything was, and yeah, I just decided to do it. I was like, what can I have nothing to lose. Let's just go there and to just get away from all friends and just do only that for a whole year. And that's what I did. Yeah.
So you left your job in Sweden doing the skate. So what exactly were you doing with the skate parks? Were you building them, or did you run one, or?
Well, it's a long story. I ended up having a skate shop, Nalle skateboard shop. I literally had a full-blown skate shop with mail order catalog and 2 indoor skate parks.
Wow.
I was heavily involved in it, but it became too much of my life, you know, like I looked myself in the mirror. I was doing shows all weekends and working in the shop and the skate parks start becoming such a big part of my life. And I was like, I don't want to do this, you know. I like it and I want to support skateboarding, but it's just eating up everything on my life. And, you know, I think I want to concentrate more on music and draw. So I just got rid of it. It all happened very, very, very fast. So I just kind of left, you know.
So did you manage to sell that as a business to give yourself some money to go to the US and pursue the music?
Yes and no. There was some money for sure, but I kind of just shut it. It was so all connected to me, you know. There was my name and skateboard shop, and it was just I was so young at the time too. I think I was 19 at the time. I just felt
no way.
Yeah, 19 or almost 20 maybe, and I was like, I don't want to deal with trying to sell this and I'm just going to get rid of it. So I just shut it down. Yeah. But to leave the whole skateboarding thing, what's cool, because I really tried to talk to the government and work with the government when I was in Sweden about skateboarding and trying to explain to them when I opened the shop and the indoor skate parks. I was like trying to really communicate with them and tell them what it meant for kids to have skate parks and have the government trying to help me. And they were very anti-skateboarding. Oh, that's for drug addicts. And, you know, we're not. And I was like, fine, okay, I'm doing it myself then. But I ended up showing them what it did mean, you know, because it meant this indoor skate parks that I had at the time, there were people from all of Europe came there.
Oh, wow.
You know? So there was a big deal. And what's cool is now Malmö, Sweden have become one of Europe's biggest. The government now do make skate parks, and we have one of the biggest. I think the Vans World Cup was actually in my hometown now.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. So they totally changed their mind and really support skateboarding, which is really, really cool.
That's wicked.
I guess in a way I was a little bit part of positive.
So there must have been a huge void in this kind of skate scene when you left. Did any one person or group of people kind of take up the slack because I assume you closed down those 2 indoor parks, you closed down your shop. So how did that work after you left? Who filled that void then?
There was multiple, you know, companies that wanted to take it on because, you know, it was a pretty good business, you know, so yeah, I mean, there was a couple of shops in my hometown that jumped at it right away, and for a while it was like, you know, very fashionable, and then it kind of went down a little bit, you know, but yeah, I mean, there was other companies that picked up on it right away, so they were happy to see me leave. You know.
So when you landed at the Guitar Musicians Institute, was it? What was that like? I mean, because I kind of did a similar thing where I went to what was called the Guitar Institute in London, and I kind of knew a few chords. I could play songs and stuff that I'd like learned by ear, but then I was confronted with all this kind of theory stuff and, you know, all these practices and arpeggios and all this kind of stuff. I mean, how was that? I mean, for you?
Probably the same reaction as you had. I was just like so overwhelmed, but I was very determined, you know. I had read up about it, I heard from my friends, and I knew what it's going to be about. So yeah, I just I mean, it was scary as fuck, to be honest with you. Come to school, I'm from a small town in Sweden, and suddenly I come to Los Angeles, California, and this school where there's just people, I couldn't believe how good people could play guitar, you know, like everybody walking around. Like, I mean, I remember being home in Sweden and watching, there was like when we were growing up, there was a show called Fame. I don't know, Live Forever. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Art school, and that's how it felt, but it was just guitars, you know, and walking around these hallways and everybody's just like jamming guitars. And I was so scared and just scared to say a word. I was bad at English, as you can hear, still am. You
Better
know,
than my Swedish.
yeah. Freaking out, you know, and so overwhelmed trying to take on all this, what to learn. But it was great. A whole year, I didn't really do anything else than to play guitar, you know.
Yes, there's worse ways to pass the time.
Yeah. And I remember I lived in an apartment building very close to the school.
Yeah.
The neighbor above me, because I'm still obsessed with amplifiers and all that stuff. So coming to Los Angeles, California, you can get some pretty cool gear, you know. And I remember having a room in my apartment, and my neighbor just coming down like, "Can you just please stop playing for like 5 minutes?" I'd take you to dinner. I'd do anything to just stop playing because I would play all the time, you know, like obsessed with it, you know. But yeah, it was a tough year, and there was a lot of facing reality that, you know, playing guitar for real takes a lot of time.
And also the fact that there are lots of people trying to do the same thing, and they're really good.
Yeah. And trying to get the whole thing of like, you got to, you know, some things may take longer for you, but it's just keep on doing it and you're going to see progress. And I got to give credit to that school. It was really cool. And there was amazing teachers, and their whole idea, the concept of the school was to bring in actually real professional guitar players that were out working in the real world, and them being teachers. So you had a lot of sessions with cool guys that were actually out playing with bands or were professional artists on their own, you know. Like I remember the guy Paul Gilbert and you know, all those Steve Vai, all those guys Steve Vai was already huge famous then, but you know, but they would still come around and play and I wouldn't get any of that, you know. Obviously already then I was kind of more into blues guitar, and you know, I got stung by that Stevie Ray Vaughan vibe, you know, and that was something that really attracted me, you know, it's that sound and that feeling. So, but great school, and just to feel all part of music all the time, it was great.
Yeah. So what happened after then? I mean, did you just go back to Sweden, or you know, stay in LA, trying to, you know, make it work, just playing music?
I did briefly, but I went back, and then because I had met a lot of good friends there, and you know, we could start playing right away. I really wanted to be here, I ended up going here and became like an illegal immigrant. Don't tell Trump that I'm admitting this on it, but you know, for a long time I was here just working with bands, and you know, I wasn't allowed to be here, and I couldn't leave the country either, you know, and because now I was staying here, and I couldn't leave. I couldn't fly home and meet my family or anything. I was kind of stuck here, but I really wanted to. There was something, I was obsessed with being here and being part of the music scene, and there was so much going on. I love that. You know, you meet musicians here and they're so fired up about it, want to work, and it might not be the best band in the world, but at least it was people that were willing to try, you know, and that was enough for me, you know.
And the people that you were meeting, how were you meeting them? Were they directly through the Musicians Institute, or was it just like being out at gigs and just hanging out with people?
Well, at the time, in Los Angeles, there was a magazine called The Recycler. And that was, every Thursday it came out. And that was, I remember, you know, waking up early in the morning and catching when the guy were delivering them so you could get the fresh copy of it. And in the back of that magazine, they would have ads for gear to buy and sell music gear. It was the only way really you could move it. And then there was ads for bands looking for musicians, you know, and they were really goofy, like ads or like rock band looking for a cool shredder, like, no nerds, and like, oh yeah, damn, I can do that gig. You know what I mean? It was like the goofiest ads ever for bands, and you would just start calling, you know, and they, you know, be on the phone, and they're like, well, lay the phone down and put your guitar and play for me, you know. I was so scared, but yeah, I mean, that's the way you did it, and that's how you met people, and you picked up, and you would just drive around in your beat up car and try to do it, to go to auditions and meet guys, and you know, I was lucky. I met a lot of great bands and a lot of good friends that I still have, you know. So.
That's good. No, that's crazy. So
yeah, well, you know, I mean, it was, I was so obsessed with it, I mean, this is a few years, and then I got really lucky. I applied for something called the Green Card Lottery.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I won. So I think it was universe that told me to stay, you know. So now I'm actually an American citizen. So Trump, if you're listening to this, I'm all cool. I'm American now. So.
Fully fledged. So when was it that you could oh god, my brain's just literally drops out of my ass. But so when did from there, when did it start? You start to sort of be in a steady band and getting steady work, and like music became. Well, I suppose music was already everything then, but were you at that point? Were you still having to, like, you know, do odd jobs here, there, and everywhere?
A lot, yeah. I mean, most of small gigs here, there was no way you could survive on it. You know, you would make such a small amounts of money. Even, you know, you picked up some tiny tour, or some band would, you know, do California or something, but I mean, there was no money. I mean, it would pay for the 2 beers you drank at the bar, you know, basically. So, yeah, through all that, I had a day job. You know, my first proper job in LA was a delivery guy for a graphical company. So I would be in a truck 8-9 hours a day, just driving back and forth. Like I said, this is before internet, really. So any ads, or I worked for a graphical company that like did movie ads, and they had to be, you know, I had to drive it everywhere. So I spent my time listening to rock music and in the truck and yeah, working, and then on the weekends playing.
Man, it's full on.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, and then I got connected with a young singer, very much like Ty who sings in my band or in our band now, and a guy called Chris Pierce, great singer-songwriter and beautiful soul singer, and we connected and started a proper band, and we started playing a lot around town. So even on work days, so I would go from work, get home, shower, get my amp in the trunk, and go down, do it. We usually would do 2-3 hours, shows. And
wow.
I mean, it would be like two, a matinee show and a 45-minute break and then another show. And we would start playing a lot and and then working during the day. So it was pretty intense for a while.
How long did that go on for?
Quite a while, actually. We were actually banned for we were banned for 6 years, actually. So we worked a lot, and we made recordings and great. We worked with we had a great producer guy called John Butcher Axis. I don't know. He was famous a long time ago. He's kind of like a Jimi Hendrix clone, a guitar player who ended up producing us and helping us with everything. It was great. We had a lot of fun.
So were you did you have residencies with that band, or you did? Okay.
Yeah. And that's how I met Ty, actually, because we did have the band was called The Best of Simple. It was an old Langston Hughes book, and we would play at an Irish bar every Friday night, and Ty came down a few nights, and I started seeing him all the time, and that's how we became friends through that old band.
So were you earning decent money from the Friday night gig, or was it still driving the truck and fun on a Friday night?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we made some, but it was pennies, really, So it was a back and forth to the pawn shop a lot. I can't believe how many times I bought and sold stuff, just to pay the rent. And for a long time, me and the singer lived together, just to save money. And I mean, I'm sure you guys know LA is expensive. So even then, it was tough to survive. So you always had to hustle, do something. And it was a lot of, when I think back now on all the beautiful, cool vintage amps and guitars I had that had to sell to pay the rent, it's just the way it was, So a lot of struggling, and to be honest, I mean, it was not until we kind of connected with my last guys with Vintage Trouble that it really felt like it moved in a proper way. Before that, I worked as a professional guitar player for quite a while, but always had some kind of a side gig. If it were graphic, I had a web design business for a while, and tried to just do anything to stay alive.
Yeah. So where did you start playing with Ty? Was that kind of relatively soon after you met him, or? Because he came to LA with a whole group of people, because he was actually in like a famous band already called Dakota Moon. Was like they were like the new Boys to Men. There was like 5 guys singing harmony, and they were really good. But modern R&B style, very slick. So I actually ended up playing for some of his shows, but it was kind of, because I was already then kind of a Steve Ray Vaughan, Texas blues guy, I had already then had a vibratone and a vintage Fender Twin amp, so I didn't really fit in with a modern R&B band too well. Pretty loud, obnoxious. They bowed out pretty quick. I mean, it was fun. I had a lot of fun, and I played a lot of Ty's. I would do a lot of, recording demos, and there was a lot of his stuff. So I did spend a lot of time with him for a while, but it was not until a few years later, because he was part of something called the In Excess. Yeah, I remember that.
You guys remember this? There was In Excess Rockstar. They were, obviously the lead singer for In Excess passed away. and they ended up doing this really weird, typical Hollywood thing where they got the rest of the band and they started a competition on TV who's going to be the new lead singer for any.
That's so bizarre.
So awkward, like horrible. And I remember Ty calling me and said, he's like, oh, I got in on this and I'm going to be, and they made us a reality show where they literally filmed them, I guess, in a house. I watched it a few times, but I had a very hard time understanding how it all worked. But yeah, I guess they lived together, and you know, it was in the beginning of that whole reality TV kind of madness. And but yeah, thank God you know, that Ty didn't win it, because you know, it didn't seem like it was going anywhere anyway. I don't know if anyone can remember an album with a new lead singer in excess. I think they made it and pulled it immediately, you know. So for, you know, of egoistical reasons, I can say I was lucky that he, you know, because we ended up working a lot together, you know, which is great.
That's cool. Here's a random thought for you. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the denim, but you remind me a lot of a friend of mine, Judah Bauer, who plays in John Spencer Blues Explosion. And I guess he's kind of a similar guitarist to you. You know, similar taste in amps, pretty much the same haircut. Likes the same guitars.
What the fuck? I have a clone somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't worry, he's East Coast, so you probably won't bump into him. But
okay, well, now I'm looking forward to bump into him. It'd be kind of weird.
He's cool. He's very, very cool. But yeah, John Spencer Blues Explosion is not the same as Vintage Trouble. I assure you of that. So, but it's just interesting. What's that in the background? That's a telly, isn't it? Behind you.
Yeah. This is an old one, actually, with Monty's pickups in it. Yeah.
And we didn't plan that.
No.
Yeah, I know exactly. No, I was thinking, because I was doing your podcast and I was like, oh my God, this is pretty weird, because I this basically my guest bedroom that's also my recording studio. So when I have my stepdaughters here, they sleep in that bed here, so we gotta move it down. But all the guitars in here have your pickups in it, which is crazy. And nice. We didn't plan this either. But this is one of the old. I got this guitar from that guy John Butcher, actually, that I told you about.
Yeah.
The guitar had been around for a long, long time. It's a cool telly.
Yeah, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met you was you playing in Shepherd's Bush. I came down with Jesse, Lazy J, Jesse, and I was absolutely bricking it, because you were the first person the first kind of artist that was going to try my stuff out. And I remember I had a really horrible silver PRS Tremonti that I bought off eBay for like 20 quid because the neck was broken off, so I glued it back together and sort of presented you with this thing. And you kind of looked at it and went, not really my style, but and but man, I mean, yeah, thank you. You're literally like the first proper, guy in a band using my stuff. And then Jesse and I went and had some dinner, came back and saw the show, and I was literally just on the balcony in Bush Hall in Shepherd's Bush. It's like, oh my God. That was so cool.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you. And thank you for, it's funny. I have that guitar right here. That's
the one
pickup you gave me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. This is, it's odd now because we're making a new record, and obviously we all kind of have to do it in our own home studios, all separated. We put up a couple of new songs lately that we made this way. It's not my favorite way of making music for sure, but the interesting thing now, because I'm working with so many different guitars, and it compared to doing things live. Because live, I've been so used to your pickups, for instance. Like I have it in everything I'm using for live shows. You know? Like even well, you remember doing this.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man, that was a good project. That one.
And that's kind of cool because I guess we should explain what happened, because Gretsch offered to make this guitar for me, which is an amazing guitar, and. You know, I love the look of those old Filtertronic pickups, but I said I was so used to your pickups, and like it's so to have a couple of guitars when you do live. It's, you know, with the levels and everything, you kind of want them to stay. They're all going to sound different anyway because of the guitars and what they're in, you know. So I asked if I could get the old Filtertronic covers and then send them to you and have wrap PAFs inside of it. You know?
That was really cool because like Steve Stern's it's like one of the, you know, the big wig guys, and in fact I think I remember I got an email from him and I actually ran into Steve's workshop. I was just like, oh my god, I've got this email from Steve Stern from the Gretsch Custom Shop. Like every guitar that I've played of his has just been bonkers good.
Yeah, I mean, when they made this guitar, it was always hard for me too, because when I got it, it was so good. And then, you know, I was like, oh my God, the whole band, we kind of based everything on the Les Paul, you know, and I just couldn't stop playing this guitar, you know, but now I do a mix of both. Right now it's like tuned down and whole step. But it's a great guitar. I love it. And I love the look of it. It's just got, I mean, this guitar in a black suit and being a band called Vintage Trouble is pretty bad.
Pretty sharp.
They have your Vintage Trouble logo in it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Nice, man.
Very cool.
Anyway.
So how, Vintage Trouble, you formed, it's kind of got going, was it 2010? Was that around then? So
we have our fucking 10-year anniversary and this shit year, like I mean we were supposed to be with you guys right now, you know, in Europe. We had a massive European tour shut down, and then we were supposed to do the 10-year anniversary of our first record. Another tour, but now we're streaming it. We next Tuesday we're gonna actually stream the B-side of our first album, the Bomb Shelter Sessions.
Oh, wicked!
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I don't know when this is coming out, if it's before or after, but it's July 28th is the show we're doing.
That's cool. Yeah, well, hopefully, no, it will be out after the 28th, so we'll put a link in. All right. To the is it going to be on YouTube or something after it streams, or is it just going to be?
Yeah, I think it's on Facebook Live. We're streaming it. I think we might put it on Instagram as well, on Instagram Live, so you can do longer things, and then we'll see if we maybe put it up on YouTube as well. But we did the week before here. We did the A side of the album, so it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's in the original blues club where we started off. There's a place in Santa Monica, California called Harvell's Blues Club.
Oh, wow.
And the owner there, Seven, his name is Seven, and he's the guy who gave us our first gig. So
that's wicked.
Yeah.
So when Vintage Trouble first sort of formed and got going, I mean, it was quite quick, wasn't it, from memory? Like not I mean, just like literally you got together and then you made the record, and then who was it that picked it up? But from memory, you kind of was then basically just put on the road, and it was just like gig, and you know stop.
So when we started the band, Ty and I had already kind of been in a pre-Vintage Trouble kind of band. It was another situation. So we've been really lucky for like pretty much 2009, a whole year before that, we were able to to spend a lot of time writing songs. So we already had a lot of songs finished, you know. So, I mean, for instance, Richard, our drummer, I met on our first recording session. We were recording a demo of one of the songs from Bomb Shelter sessions, and Ty had told me I met a drummer a few nights before, and he thought it'd be perfect for that song. So cool, bring him down, and that was Richard. So first time I met him, we spoke very few words together, and then we were off recording. So it was pretty cool. But we started off, we had, like I said, we already had a lot of songs finished, or demo versions of songs. So they changed quite a lot with Rick and Richard in the band, you know. But we were, you know, when you start a new band and you kind of start from scratch and go down to the rehearsal studio and kind of sit there going like, what, anyone got any cool chord progressions? You know what I mean? It takes a long time, but we already had so much finished, you know, we can just like jumped into this. So right after 3 weeks, we had been getting together. I was like, guys, we need to get out and just start playing. Like the only, I know both of you guys have been in bands or are in bands, and we'll see. I mean, you know, playing in a rehearsal studio compared to do it live, it's night and day.
Different thing, yeah.
Everything you practiced at the rehearsal studio goes out the window. Like that. All the cool sounds that you thought sounded cool sounds horrible on stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's so much to learn, and I love that everyone in the band at the time. Oh, I seen your beautiful dog.
This is Betty.
Gorgeous dog. I love it.
It's trying to lick my face.
Her eyes are so pretty.
No, they kind of can freak you out. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Anyway, so I mean, it was just all of the guys in the band. Everybody felt the same way. Like, we need to be on stage. We need to like birth this band on stage. We just need to keep going. So we got really lucky right away. So for all of 2010, basically, we ended up starting with Harvell's. We start playing there every Tuesday night, calling it Trouble Tuesday, you know. And it just became really popular really fast. It was amazing. A Tuesday night, who could have thought that people wanted to go out? And but just after a couple of weeks, it was packed in there. It was just great, you know. So, and LA is a big city, so suddenly we thought, like, why don't we go, you know, downtown and look? There's a beautiful venue there called the Edison, and we went down and asked them, can we do a weekly show here? And we got Thursday nights there, and suddenly we had 4 or 5 shows every week. So we played all the time. For basically a whole year. And there's a lot of even YouTube videos of us just being in weird restaurants playing, and that's how we, you know, eventually got caught up with Doc Mcgee. He caught us in a club, and we, you know, he's famous for saying, like, when he goes and see a new band, he always say that I don't really watch the band, I watch the audience. I see how the audience react. And he couldn't believe it. He came down to one of our shows, and it was packed, and people just going crazy, dancing on the bars, and he really liked it. So he took us on, and this is Doc Mcgee. I don't know if your viewers and listeners know who that is, but he was at the time, you know, pretty much one of the biggest managers in the world. You know, it's Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi.
There's some small bands, you know.
I mean, just crazy, you know. And he had been involved in so much of these bands, and they're, you know, from the beginning to the end almost, you know. And so for him to take us on we couldn't believe it, you know. Suddenly we're sitting at Doc Mcgee's office in Los Angeles, you know. And it felt like, oh shit, something's actually happening, you know.
Yeah.
And we had made that first record, the Bomb Shelter sessions, that we now we have made it in my friend's recording studio, and his recording studio is called the Bomb Shelter Studio, so that's why it's called the Bomb Shelter Sessions. sweet guy, Eric Kretz from Stone Temple Pilots, the drummer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's his studio. He sold it now, but that was his recording studio, and it was really originally not meant to be an album at all. You know, we were just making. We made that after 3 months as a band.
Okay.
And I called Eric and said, I have this new band, and do you think you can let us use your studio for a day and just we just want to go in and play the songs in the studio and see how it sounds, you know. And yeah, it was after we were listening to it when we were done, because everything is just live. Ty even sings on the take when we're doing it, you know.
Oh wow,
really?
Yeah. There ended up being some tiny guitar overdubs on some of the songs where the guitar solo, I put something in the back, but it was done super quick, you know.
And do you think you were able to do that because of all the gigging that you were doing? It's a bit of a leading question, but
no, totally. That was so cool. I felt like we're so cooking now, like we're playing all the time, and you know, there's something really cool about a new band, or like when new musicians are put together. Obviously, I had played with Ty for quite a while, but the rest of the guys, we were new to each other, and that's why it was cool to record that almost live, because you can hear it's a rough record, but I still love it because you can hear there's a lot of respect between each other, and like let everybody kind of really listening to what's going on, you know, because it was so new to us, and we wanted to figure out a way to do it, you know. So that album ended up costing printed and done $1,200. It was just great. And that took us a long way, that album.
Yeah.
And still do.
So were you selling that at gigs after you pressed it up?
Yeah, totally. We tried to step on it right away. You know, as soon as we saw there's a lot of people coming, we wanted to be like, we should have CDs here and get this going right away. You know, like let's make something happen. And it was cool. People picked it up, and Doc Mcgee liked the album a lot, and he ended up asking. You know, he asked us what we want to do, and we said, you know, we would love to go to Europe, and. You know, it was that same old myth or legend of all the old 60s American musicians going to UK, and, you know, like Hendrix, and we always felt like it could be a different type of energy if we went to Europe, you know. Because to be honest, you guys, I mean, I say you guys, I'm European too. And I guess I offend you if you're from UK, right? You're officially not a European, or how's it going?
Let's not get into that.
Yeah,
I don't know. But you know, it's shown through history that especially UK, if you're a new band not from UK complain, you get a lot of attention. You know, like people like it, and people are really interested in it. And Doc Mcgee ended up sending that album through his connection, and it reached Jools Holland, and we got it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing you on that, and just being. You know, I think I text quite a few people after. It's like, did you just see that? Yeah, because that was I just remember it like tide spinning around and around. The whole thing was really, really cool. So, I mean, after Jools, what happened then?
Well, we had. It's hard to try to remember exactly the. We got asked to do the Jools Holland, and we had heard that Brian May was doing a theater tour with an opera singer. I can't remember her name right now. I think it was 2011 or maybe late 2010. I can't remember. But so, and Ty had actually, you know, Ty was done a lot of like rock opera and stuff. He has a lot of history of doing that. And he was on the original We Will Rock You. the rock opera.
Oh, okay.
So a long, like I think 2006 or something like that. Ty actually had worked with Brian May, because Brian May came to Las Vegas and they ended up setting up We Will Rock You, the show, and he was teaching the musicians to get the Queen music right. So Ty definitely knew Brian May. And so while we were in UK doing the Jules Holland, we got connected with that and ended up going on. Oh, sorry, I was pinging things here.
That's all right.
We ended up getting a 3-week tour with Brian May. So that was, things went really fast after that, and especially after Jules Holland. It was incredible to see what it did to the band,
Yeah.
I had very little experience of, knowing what the Jules Holland show meant for bands and what it could do for kind of skyrocketing a career for a band. It was amazing. I had no idea. And I do remember we were selling the CD on our website. I had built the original website and we were selling it, and we had like a PayPal link, and people could order the CD. And after that Jules Holland, it was insane. I mean, we opened our emails and I just couldn't believe it. We have pictures of us sitting in a Hampstead hotel with trash bags, huge black trash bags with just packages we were shipping out.
That's amazing.
CDs. All we did day out and day in, go to the post office and ship out CDs. It's amazing.
And they must have loved you.
Yeah. The post office, it was horrible. The guy who was afterward in the queue was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh man, and then it was just lots of just touring, right? I mean, I'm just on the road for a long time.
Yeah, and having Doc Mcgee as a manager, it's just opened so many doors to us. And I mean, the reaction from the Jules Holland show was so intense in so many ways. Like on social media, it just kind of exploded. So we had a booking agency early on in UK, and they called us and were like, you guys are offered shows everywhere. If you guys want to tour, let's do it. So we stayed for almost 4 months. We were supposed to be there for 3 weeks. We stayed for 4 months.
Wow.
We couldn't stop. Like, we ended up being on Bon Jovi's stadium tour right away. We made a documentary at the time called 80 Shows in 100 Days. I think you can still find it on Vimeo or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a documentary about the whole progress at that time. It's such a whirlwind of shows. We couldn't even really think what was happening. We just tried to hang on as good as we could.
Yeah.
And did you, from off the back of those shows that you did supports for, did you get another big kind of kick up in sales in terms of CDs and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I still thank Brian May for taking us on that theater show. It was amazing, but it was theaters that usually average about 1,200 to 2,000 tops in those places. But suddenly we got on with Bon Jovi, and I mean, first show, 65,000 people, and I mean, it went so crazy after that. And, I remember meeting you obviously during that time and Jesse, it was amazing. We could start doing club shows in all over UK and they were selling out, so why stop, and then, so for the next 6 years, we just didn't really stop at all. Pretty intense.
Yeah. But what was did that affect sort of life back home? Like what was going on back in LA? Or were you all kind of sort of kind of free and single? Or was there any like families and that kind of thing as well? I mean, what was it?
Yeah,
what was that like?
It was. I think it's probably definitely hardest for Richard Danielson, our drummer. I mean, when we started the band, we had a kind of a discussion, and we definitely asked everyone, "Are you guys really ready to do this?" You know, like, we want to turn this into a real thing, you know, and that means that we got to spend 24 hours a day on it, you know, because, you know, as you guys know, being in a band, it's so much more than just performing and doing the shows. It's making merchandise, printing CDs at the time, and keeping some accounting and figuring things out, you know, like, and speaking to people, get connections and whatever you need to do, you know. So it's a lot of work. I felt Richard had a daughter at the time, a very young Julia, sweet Julia. So she was so young at the time when we started the band. So I'm sure it was really tough for him. The rest of us, we were in you know, at the time, simple relations, you know, like easy. So for me, it was no question. I was like, I'm ready to go, you know. But I think it was pretty painful for Richard as far as family time and because, I mean, it's huge to just disappear, you know. We were gone I mean, we would come home and stay home for maybe 5 days and then split again, you know, and it was intense, you know. And when we got here to LA, because of what was cooking in Europe, you know, we would start doing every TV show here. Like, I mean, we did Jay Leno, the TV show, 4 times. We were on his show 4 times before he retired, you know.
Wow.
We were on David Letterman, Conan O'Brien, Craig Ferguson, all of these TV shows. And we did so much when we were even here in LA. So it was never really any downtime, you know.
And that must have taken a toll.
Yeah, but we loved it, you know. We're not all young guys, and I think in all our years of playing music, it was so exciting to finally feel this is working, you know. You're in so many bands, I mean, hundreds of bands, and you know, you try to figure out what is the magic combination of everything that suddenly just goes click and it worked. And this was this band, you know. I mean, like, my God, like you and we felt it so early on that it's just like, it might be a little rough, you know, like, I mean, we're definitely not the best musicians in the world in any way, you know. Ty is a stunning frontman and a singer without a doubt, you know, but as a, you know, we just try to do what we could, you know, and it worked, and it was so exciting. So I don't think for a second we were thinking like, oh my God, it's so much time we're spending on this. It was just like, let's go, you know. Yeah. Amazing.
It's just like no other option. Just go forward. And
I tell you how crazy it was, because I remember we were on the Jay Leno show, and I might have been the 2nd or 3rd time, and it was a lot of people backstage, and we were so excited. We had done it, and suddenly Doc Mcgee was on the speakerphone backstage, and he's like, "Oh, is everyone here in the band?" Like, "Yeah, we're all here. What's going on? I got good news for you guys." Like, "What? You know, you guys going on tour with The Who?" You know, and we're like, "What?" like now, you guys are leaving in a week, you know, and suddenly we're on that, and I just couldn't believe it. Here we are, playing with a legendary, I mean, 1960s monster. I mean, we're talking Pete Townsend. They're like the full-on real deal, and they want us to support them. It was incredible.
That's crazy. I remember actually speaking to you when you were on that tour, and I had to get some pickups to you or something, but like, you didn't know where you were going to be, and I had to, like, next day FedEx a box of, you know, little box of pickups over to you, and it's like got there in like 12 hours or something ridiculous, from Richmond in London to I can't remember, but it was just mind-boggling. Yeah.
And that was such a. I mean, all the other support acts we done before that were definitely gruesome, and you know, like as far as you know, when you play with any band like that, especially as we learned with the Who, they worked a lot before on sound check, you know. So they would give us 5 minutes, 5 minutes to set up the show, you know, when they were like, the doors are opening in 5 minutes, get your gear on stage, you know. You know, and we'd be so stressed out trying to get everything in order, you know. But it learned us to be very light on our feet when it came to setting up our gear, and because we traveled with such a small crew at the time, and trying to make things happen. But it was very, I mean, my God, we did 52 shows with the Who.
Jeez.
Wow! Did you go?
Sorry. Go. No, you go. You go.
I was just. It was kind of incidental question, really. Did you said you had to be really light on your feet? Did you change on that? I'm not sure whether you meant just on the Who gig, or whether you meant on all of the support gigs. Did you change your setup for that Who gig?
I mean,
because you're like, all I can do is plug 2 things in, and then bam, make sure we're making a noise, and then I'm good for the gig. Was it kind of like that?
Yeah, in a way. But, you know, luckily, like, I got hooked up with Jesse and Lacey J Amp pretty fast, right? I ended up calling him after the Jules Holland show, and yeah, I mean, I had kind of an easy setup. It was 2 little tweed amps, you know, and just throw them on stage and go, you know. But I mean, if somebody would see my guitaring, they probably wouldn't say I have a nice easy rig. You know? I mean, it's 2 tweed amps and a vibratone, and but I mean, it just meant we had to work it out really fast, and we were good at it. I guess I didn't really change my setup. It was just knowing, like, be prepared, you know. Soon as they say go, you just run up there, put the shit together and go, you know. Like, I mean, and we were already in suit, you know. Usually we won't, if you guys haven't seen Vintage Trouble, usually we dress up pretty nice, you know, and we always like to be in suits and stuff. So it's tough to haul around your pedal boards and stuff when you're all in a 3-piece suit, you know. But it worked, you know. And why wouldn't it? My God, we got to open up for the Who. We got the coolest gig in the world, you know. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah, it doesn't get
that's amazing.
Much bigger.
Yeah.
So how long was it until it kind of did start slowing down, and you actually managed to get some sort of time back and that kind of thing?
Coronavirus.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, to be, you know, I just told my family, you know, we've been talking about it when I've been home for this long, like it's really hard for us, you know. Like, I mean, I'm just not used to spending so much time at home, you know, like going fucking crazy. I mean, now it's been so long, so now it's you know, you're finding your ways around it, but yeah, I mean, I would say for the last 9 years we've been rolling, you know. We've just been endless gigging, you know. We love it, and we love to be on the road. But I mean, it slowed down a little bit about 3 years ago, I would say. A little. I mean, we weren't going, you know, we went from maybe 170, 200 gigs a year to maybe 150, you know.
Just take the edge off, you know.
yeah. I mean, there was once you start doing it, it's so addictive, you know. It's so I have, even if it you know, I shouldn't say it's effortless, because, you know, spending all your time at airports and tour buses, and it can take a toll on you, you know. But I think we became pretty good at it at the end, you know, like really professional travelers. Like, things that we take for granted, but when you meet someone who never travels, we're going like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You know, I mean, we're so used to rolling around with our suitcases and just, you know, it's becoming a second part of your life. You know, you just do it, you know.
So have you got any kind of habits or routines that you have on the road to try and maintain some kind of normality throughout all of the different places that you end up sleeping and flying and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you try. I mean, like, I do remember for quite a few years, they ended up being really crazy with all the time differences. We were flying to Japan maybe twice a year, and then, you know, going to South America, and then you know, and the thing is, I think, you know, not worrying about what time, you know, just sleep when you're tired and trying to like feel it rather than worrying about trying to change your time. And I mean, early on, you know, it was mostly drinking and numbing everything. But now when we're more even with it, I think, you know, I spend a lot of time just trying to, at the hotels, practicing guitar and just, you know, walking around town or running around town and get some exercise. And then, I mean, most of the time when you're playing, you spend 80% of the time backstage of the venue and then a hotel, and then you leave, you know. So it's just trying to find a few hours a day when you go out and just get away from everything and take a long walk or something, you know, and listen to some podcast or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So what's kind of, have you got, I mean, I suppose obviously we have this global pandemic, so that's going to kind of kiboshing lots of stuff, but what's, apart from the live streaming thing that sounds really cool, what's the next kind of thing in the pipeline?
Making a record. So we put up a few songs early on in this Corona madness, a song called Outside In. And it's a single that's out. And then we also took one of our old songs called Not Right By Me.
Yeah.
And, you know, with all this madness going on here in America with police and minorities. And we felt like we wanted to say and speak up a little bit about it. And that song always had that message, you know, but Ty wanted to add another verse to the song, and we thought, why don't we like make a whole new version of the song? We take the same song but do completely different energy on it, and it was really fun. And that was made through our home studios, and now we're actually making a full record that way as well, you know. So that's where we spend our days. And I do also a lot of my own music and you know, more guitar madness, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I spend a little bit of teaching now, guitar teaching. You know, I'm not any monster guitar player, but I do have some people who are interested in the type of playing I do, so I help them. And yeah, other than that, you know, we're just trying to get through this and figure out how. Because, you know, I mean, early when it started, it was, you know, when was that? In end of April, middle of May, we were talking to our booking agencies and they're, you know, how is this going to go? And they're like, well, hopefully, because, you know, late June, we were supposed to leave on this European tour and be with you guys now. And yeah, they just kept saying, well, we hopefully will be at that time, you know, but now they're talking about 2022, you know, like, I mean, I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. And you know, because it's tough with live shows, of course. You guys know how, you know, there's nothing greater than an awesome, sweaty theater show in UK, but how is that going to happen, you know? And I don't know.
I was talking to someone, to a guitar tech the other day, backline tech, and he said there was some very odd sounding festival planned, I think on Newcastle Racecourse, where they were having like, you know, the wheelchair risers that you see at big like stadium shows. He said that they were going to have like tons and tons and tons of those. 2,000 people with like 5-person risers, and then the band's on. But how on earth? That is just a nightmare. How on earth does that work? Because you've got to get people to and from, and also they're allowed to go to the bar. So like, what? Just seems bizarre.
I mean, we're doing already here in the States. They're doing like drive-in shows now. I don't know if you guys see that. Like Keith Urban, I think, was the first one to start it off, and now it's getting pretty popular. You know, people are trying stuff, and I don't want to be neggy at all. And I think it's cool that shows how we are as human. We get into a situation, and after a while, we figure it out. We got to do something. Will it work in the long run? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, and I agree, you know, how they're going to stop people from when they're leaving the venue and like you said, in the bar and yeah, it's tough for us to think what's going to happen. I don't know. And it's been devastating for our crew. Like, I mean, we have a 5-piece crew now, and I mean, and our company is flattened, you know, like, I mean, we're supporting our whole livelihood on touring. So when that just stopped like that, it just all ends, you know. So it's we have a lot to think about, and luckily we were kind of scheduled to write a lot of music now anyway. So it's been fortunate that at least we were in the position of that it kind of happened during this time period, but now it's just extending, and so that's why we try to do the streaming shows and also communicating with a lot of companies. A lot of companies are coming up with ideas like you just mentioned, and what can you do, and we did some filming last week as well for some other radio show that ended up doing a stage video kind of thing, and it, you know, we're used to audience and used to that whole interaction of I love a sweaty room, and you know, you just kind of go for it, you know. Will it be the same doing streaming shows? Absolutely not. You're standing around in an empty venue, you know, but we do what we can. I mean, when we did it last week, it was pretty much the first time we did it properly. I thought it would be really awkward, but once we started, it was super fun, you know, and I felt like I was right back in it, you know, like, so, God, I don't know. We got to just keep trucking with it, and hopefully for the best, you know. You know, obviously live entertainment is probably going to be the last thing people are worrying about in this situation, and I get that.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because the thing that people will pay for these days is going to a sweaty venue. And how do you, like, getting them to pay for stuff that comes through their computer, unless you're Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever? It's that people just don't think about paying for music like that. Like, they'll listen to your record on Spotify, and so it's just pivoting somehow to try and, you know, how could it feels almost kind of dirty as a musician to talk about monetizing your art, but everyone's got to pay the rent. And like you say, all of your income is coming pretty much from touring. So when the plug is pulled on that, how do you, what will your fans want from you? How will they consume stuff from you? And yeah, that's the literally $1 billion question.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it is really tough. But I have to say, we had a discussion before the streaming we did last week, and we're in a venue. In that venue, we started playing Harvelle's, and they provided a crew and said everybody's here working for free, and we're working for free. And we were talking about it and said, why don't we? Because we felt awkward trying to, sell a show and on streaming and ask people to pay for it, you know. So we set up a donation thing and said, you know, if you guys feel like, if it feels like it's entertaining for you, you know, donate. If we're cool if you don't, but if you do feel like you, and it was surprising. Our fans, called troublemakers, are pretty incredible. I mean, it was amazing. They actually made it work, because we were doing that streaming last week as a test. Because we told the crew there, it's the film camera guys, and you know, we have a live TV mixing guy who kind of has the cameras, and he kind of makes it work. And there's a sound guy, of course. So there has to be a few people and we still got to stay safe, you know. And we told them, like, we don't know if you're going to make a penny or not, you know. But it was cool. Our fans were pretty amazing, and there was a lot of donations, and it worked. You know, we could pay everyone, and everybody felt comfortable with it and okay to move on. So I know it's not going to work in the long run, you know, of course. But we'll try to figure it out, what you can do and make it. I guess it's like we were talking about the awkwardness of doing even like this. We're doing a conversation through Zoom, right? And it's a little hard with the delays and everything, but we are getting used to it. It's getting easier and easier every time you do it. And I think even with the audience, they're learning how to set it up through their TVs and actually kind of hearing it pretty good in their houses. And they're having fun. I mean, the response from our streaming was, I was really surprised. We did very little advertising for it, and people loved it, you know, and just, they were saying, like, it felt like we were there, you know, with you. And it's really cool. We're just trying to, we want to perform, and we want to stay in touch with our fans, and it's the only way now. So, you know, everybody's kind of had to
just roll with the punches.
Yeah, totally. So you know, it's a lot of learning, and it's a lot of spending time at home. And I was just telling another friend of mine the other day, I probably haven't practiced that much guitar ever in my life as I do right now. My neighbor's going crazy here, because it's, you know, it's a cool time now. All these amazing musicians that are home, they're doing YouTube videos and like fantastic players, and it's so much fun to I've been, you know, enjoying it now. It's okay. I mean, trust me, I can't wait until when it ends so we can jump on tour again. But now it's okay, you know, like I don't mind spending time here and really work on guitar playing and songwriting and trying to make it better, you know.
Wicked, man.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's the kind of just the message, isn't it? Just making it better.
Yeah, I mean, I know everybody can, you know, there's so much madness in the world now, and everybody love to point the finger at everyone. And it's always somebody's fault, right? It's like we're in it. It's no one could have thought this shit could happen. And I understand even the leaders in our world, wherever you're at, you know, this is a mad task to take on. You know, who knew that something would go this crazy? You know, I mean, not in the wildest imagination. I talked to some people 6 months ago, was saying, like, maybe we need like an alien invasion or something for us to come together. And this is kind of like that, right? Like, fuck, man. But it's a little frustrating to see that there's so many angry people out there, and, you know, just roll with it, man. Come on.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I mean, you can't. It takes so much energy to stay angry. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's why stay there? I mean, it's better for you as a person, and for everybody around you, just be nice, you know, and just chill and deal with it. Yeah, some things might be a bit shit, some things aren't so shit, and it's just go on through and just you know, fight the good fight. Really. Yeah.
No, I mean, I do get it. I get that people are extremely frustrated now. I mean, financially, it's for a lot of people, it's crazy, you know, like what, yeah. But we have to start rethinking our the way we do things, you know, especially as musicians. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. Yeah.
Oh well. And on that bombshell.
Yeah, my God, I don't want to leave it like that.
No. No, it's all cool. I mean, yes, things are gonna work themselves out. It's got to. Otherwise, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, with your viewers and listeners, you know, I'm sure they're spending a lot of time at home working on guitars and stuff. And I mean, there's a cool world out there thank God that we have the internet at least.
Yeah, man.
Connect like this is amazing, and stay in touch with your friends and write a lot of music. You know, it's all we can do right now.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
Amen.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Well, Nalle, I think it's time. It's about time. Our time is up.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for coming on, and it's always great to see you and chew the shit over. But yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, the same to you guys. Thank you very much. All the best, man.
And to you, we look forward to seeing you on the streams.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Stay in touch. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. Take care.
Take it easy, man.
Bye.
Cheers.